Ethan woke up late again. His phone showed 9:47 a.m. He jumped out of bed, heart racing. Another morning wasted. Another promise broken. "I'll start tomorrow," he whispered like always. Ethan's life felt messy. He had dreams, but no structure. Goals, but no discipline. Every day looked the same. He slept late, scrolled on his phone for hours, ate without thinking, and avoided hard tasks. Deep inside, he knew the truth. Life was controlling him. At work, his boss was strict. Deadlines were missed. Warnings were given. Ethan nodded, apologized, and promised to improve. But after work, nothing changed. At home, he felt tired but not productive. His mind was full, but empty at the same time. He watched videos about success, discipline, and motivation. They inspired him for a few minutes, then disappeared. One evening, Ethan met his old friend, Leo. Leo looked different. Calm, focused, confident. "You've changed," Ethan said. Leo smiled. "I didn't change my life. I changed myself." Those words stayed in Ethan's mind. That night, Ethan sat alone in his room. No music, no phone, just silence. He asked himself a hard question. Why can't I control my own life? The answer hurt. Because he couldn't control himself. His sleep controlled him. His phone controlled him. His emotions controlled him. Ethan realized something important. Freedom does not come from doing what you want. Freedom comes from doing what you must. For the first time, he didn't blame society, luck, or other people. He looked in the mirror and said quietly, "This is my responsibility." He took an old notebook and wrote one sentence on the first page. "If I don't control myself, life will control me." That was not motivation. That was awareness. And awareness was the beginning of change. Ethan did not know how to become disciplined yet. He did not have a perfect plan. But one thing was clear now. If nothing changed, nothing would change. This was the moment his old life started to crack. And something new slowly began. The next morning, Ethan woke up before his alarm. That almost never happened. For a few seconds, he stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling. His body felt heavy. His mind searched for excuses. Just 5 more minutes. You can start tomorrow. One day won't change anything. Ethan knew these voices well. They had controlled his life for years. Slowly, he sat up. His phone was on the table. Notifications were waiting. Messages, videos, comfort. His hand moved toward it. Then he stopped. He remembered the sentence in his notebook. "If I don't control myself, life will control me." Ethan turned the phone face down. That small action felt strangely difficult. He stood up, washed his face, and looked at himself in the mirror. His eyes were tired but focused. "This is not about motivation," he said quietly. "This is about control." Ethan made his first decision. No phone in the morning. It sounded simple. It felt painful. Without his phone, the room felt empty. Quiet. Almost uncomfortable. His mind jumped from thought to thought. He didn't know what to do. So he made his bed. Slowly. Carefully. It was a small task, but it was something he could control. Then he opened his notebook and wrote 3 simple goals for the day. Wake up on time. Finish work tasks. Read 10 pages. Not big goals. Just clear ones. At work, Ethan noticed something strange. He was more present, more focused, less reactive. When stress came, he breathed instead of scrolling. When boredom appeared, he stayed with it instead of escaping. It was uncomfortable. Self-control always is. In the afternoon, his boss corrected him. Normally, Ethan would feel angry or defensive. This time he listened. No excuses. No emotional reaction. That surprised even himself. At night, Ethan felt tired but different. Not empty tired. Honest tired. He opened his notebook again and wrote, "Today, I didn't win the whole battle, but I won one small fight." Ethan understood something important. Discipline does not start with big changes. It starts with small decisions repeated daily. This was only the second day, and already life felt slightly less loud. By the third day, Ethan understood something important. Starting was easy. Continuing was hard. The excitement from the first decision was fading. His body wanted comfort again. His mind wanted old habits back. That morning, he woke up on time, but stayed in bed. His phone was still face down on the table. It felt like it was calling him. Just check messages, his mind said. You're already disciplined. One look won't hurt. Ethan sat up slowly. He realized something scary. The real enemy was not laziness. It was negotiation. Every bad habit started with a small deal. He stood up without touching the phone. His heart beat faster, like he had escaped something dangerous. During the day, distractions attacked him everywhere. At work, people talked. Notifications appeared on his computer. Stress built up. Before, Ethan escaped stress. Now he faced it, and it was uncomfortable. At lunch, he almost quit his new routine. He felt tired, bored, and unfocused. What's the point, he thought. No one sees this effort. That thought hit hard, because it was true. No one was watching. No one was praising him. That evening, Ethan went for a short walk. No music, no phone, just thoughts. He realized discipline is invisible. No applause, no likes, no reward at first. But without it, nothing grows. Back home, he opened his notebook and wrote honestly. I don't feel motivated. I want to quit. This is harder than I thought. Then he wrote one more line. I will do it anyway. That sentence felt powerful. Not emotional, not exciting, just strong. Ethan forced himself to read 10 pages. It felt slow. His mind wandered. Still, he finished. Before sleeping, he looked at the notebook again. 3 days. 3 controlled mornings. 3 small wins. Ethan smiled slightly. He finally understood something most people never learn. Self-discipline is choosing discomfort now to avoid regret later. The fight was not over. In fact, it had just begun. But Ethan was no longer blind. He could see the enemy clearly now, and that gave him power. The 4th day did not start well. Ethan woke up late. The alarm rang, but he turned it off without thinking. When he opened his eyes again, the room was bright. His heart sank. He failed. For a few seconds, he stayed still, staring at the ceiling. Shame slowly filled his chest. See, his mind whispered, you can't change. This was just another short try. Ethan felt angry. Not at life, not at others, but at himself. At work, everything felt heavier. His focus was gone. His patience was thin. One small problem made him react emotionally. He spoke sharply. He regretted it immediately. The old version of Ethan was back. That evening, he almost didn't open his notebook. What's the point? He thought. I already failed. But something stopped him. He remembered Leo's words. I didn't change my life. I changed myself. Ethan sat down and opened the notebook slowly. He did not write excuses. He did not lie to himself. He wrote the truth. I woke up late. I lost control. I reacted emotionally. Then he paused. Instead of closing the notebook, he turned the page and wrote, falling is not failure. Staying down is. That sentence felt heavy, but honest. Ethan realized something important that night. Self-discipline is not perfection. It is recovery. Everyone fails. Everyone slips. The difference is what happens next. Ethan prepared his alarm again. He placed his phone far from the bed. He planned the next day, carefully, but simply. No big promises. No dramatic motivation. Just commitment. Before sleeping, he spoke quietly to himself. Tomorrow, I stand up again. The next morning was still uncertain. The future was still unclear. But Ethan had learned a powerful lesson. Control is not about never losing. It is about returning again and again. And that lesson would change everything. The next morning, Ethan woke up on time. Not because he felt motivated. Not because he felt strong. But because he prepared. He stood up, turned off the alarm, and felt a small victory inside his chest. It was not a big success, but it was real. Ethan finally understood something important. Self-discipline is not about willpower. It is about systems. That day, he did not try to change his whole life. He changed only 3 things. First, he created a morning routine. Wake up, make the bed, drink water, sit quietly for 5 minutes. No phone, no rushing. Those 5 minutes felt strange at first. His mind was noisy. Thoughts came and went, but he stayed still. Second, he limited his distractions. At work, he put his phone in a drawer. Not forever, just during focused hours. At first, his hand wanted to reach for it again and again. But each time he resisted, his focus became stronger. Third, he planned his day the night before. Not a long plan, just 3 tasks. If I finish these 3, he told himself, today is a success. That idea changed everything. Before, Ethan felt overwhelmed because he wanted to do everything. Now, he felt calm because he knew what mattered. Some days were good. Some days were difficult. But the system stayed. When motivation disappeared, the system carried him forward. One evening, Ethan looked at his notebook again. He noticed something surprising. His handwriting was calmer. His thoughts were clearer. He smiled quietly. Life was still hard. Problems still existed. But now, Ethan was not fighting chaos anymore. He was creating order. And order gave him control. He wrote one last sentence that night. I don't need to be perfect. I need to be consistent. That belief slowly became part of him. And with consistency, real change had finally begun. Few weeks passed. Ethan's routine became familiar, almost comfortable. Waking up early felt normal. Planning the day felt natural. But life never stays quiet for long. One Monday morning, everything went wrong. He woke up late. The alarm did not ring. His phone battery had died during the night. Panic filled his chest. He skipped breakfast. He rushed out of the house. His mind felt heavy and angry. At work, mistakes followed him like shadows. Emails were late. Tasks took longer than usual. By noon, Ethan felt tired and disappointed. A voice inside him whispered, "See, you're not disciplined. This was just luck." In the past, Ethan would have given up right there. He would have said, "This day is ruined. I will try again tomorrow." But this time was different. He remembered his system. Instead of quitting, he adjusted. He opened his notebook and crossed out one task. Only 2 remained. I don't need a perfect day, he thought. I need a controlled response. During lunch, he did not scroll on his phone. He sat quietly and breathed. Just 5 minutes. The chaos in his mind slowly calmed. That afternoon, he focused on one task only. Not fast, not perfect, but steady. When he finished, a small sense of pride appeared. That night, Ethan wrote in his notebook, "Discipline is not about never failing. It is about not letting failure control you." The next day was better. Not amazing, just better. And that was enough. Ethan began to understand the true test of self-control. It was not on good days. It was on bad ones. Anyone can be disciplined when life is easy. But real discipline appears when things fall apart. That week taught him something powerful. Missing once is a mistake. Giving up is a decision. He chose not to give up. Slowly, his confidence grew. Not loud, not proud, quiet and strong. He was no longer waiting for life to be perfect. He was learning to stay in control inside the storm. And that changed everything. As Ethan continued his disciplined routine, a new challenge appeared. It was not outside him. It was inside. Every morning, when he sat quietly before starting his day, a voice spoke in his mind. "You're doing too much. Others live easier lives. Why don't you relax like before?" This voice sounded friendly, but it was dangerous. It was the voice of comfort. At first, Ethan tried to ignore it, but the voice returned again and again. One evening, after a long day, Ethan felt exhausted. His body wanted rest. His mind wanted escape. The old habit knocked on the door. Just one night, the voice said, "Skip your routine. You deserve it." Ethan sat on his bed, feeling the pull. This moment felt heavy. He realized something important. Discipline was no longer about actions. It was about identity. Who do I want to be? He asked himself. The old Ethan would follow emotions. The new Ethan followed decisions. He did not force himself to work harder. Instead, he made a deal. Just 10 minutes, he said. 10 minutes of reading. 10 minutes of focus. Nothing more. After 10 minutes passed, something strange happened. The resistance disappeared. The mind became quiet. The body followed. Ethan smiled softly. He wrote later that night, "The mind creates fear before action. Action destroys fear." From that day on, Ethan stopped fighting the voice. He listened, then chose anyway. He understood that self-control is not silence inside the mind. It is leadership. Thoughts can speak. Emotions can shout. But discipline decides. Each small victory built trust with himself. He began to believe in his own words. Not because life was easy, but because he proved something. He could lead himself. And when a man controls his inner world, the outer world slowly begins to follow. As Ethan's inner control grew stronger, a new test appeared from the outside world. People noticed his change. At first, they were curious. Why are you always busy now? You don't hang out like before. Relax, life is not a race. Ethan smiled, but he felt the pressure. Friends invited him out late at night. Old habits waited quietly. The world does not like when someone changes. Change reminds people of what they avoid. One evening, Ethan met an old friend. They talked about memories, jokes, and the past. Then the friend said, laughing, "You used to be more fun." The words were light, but they stayed in Ethan's mind. For a moment, doubt returned. Am I becoming boring? Am I missing life? That night, Ethan opened his notebook. He wrote 2 lists. On the first page, comfort life, easy days, no structure, temporary happiness. On the second page, controlled life, clear goals, strong habits, long-term peace. He looked at both pages carefully. Then he understood something simple. Not everyone will understand your discipline, and they don't need to. Self-control is a lonely road at the beginning. Ethan started setting quiet boundaries. He said no without explanation. He left early when needed. He protected his mornings and evenings. No anger, no arguments, just choices. Slowly, the noise around him lost power. People talked. Time passed. But Ethan stayed. Weeks later, small results appeared. His focus improved. His confidence grew. His days felt lighter, not heavier. He learned a deep truth. Discipline does not take life away. It gives life direction. The world will always try to pull you back to comfort, but only you can decide where you stand. Ethan was no longer running from temptation. He was walking toward purpose. And with every step, life began to move in his direction. Something changed quietly. Ethan did not notice it at first. There was no big moment, no loud success, no applause. But life began to respond to his discipline. He woke up with energy, not force. His mind felt clear, not heavy. His days had direction. Small wins started to appear. He finished tasks faster. He spoke with confidence. People listened when he talked. One day at work, his manager noticed him. "You've changed," she said. "You're more focused, more reliable." Ethan nodded calmly. Inside, he smiled. This was not luck. This was consistency. Opportunities followed discipline. A new responsibility. A better project. Trust. But the biggest change was inside him. Ethan no longer needed motivation. He moved even when he didn't feel like it. He stayed calm when problems appeared. He chose action over emotion. One evening, he faced a difficult situation. A mistake from the past returned. Stress tried to take control. Before, he would react fast. Anger, fear, excuses. This time he paused. He breathed slowly. He asked one question. What is the controlled response? He fixed the problem step by step. No drama. No panique. Later, alone in his room, he realized something powerful. Self-control had changed his identity. He was no longer a person controlled by moods. He was a person guided by values. Life felt different now. Challenges were still there, but they felt smaller. Distractions still existed, but they felt weaker. Ethan understood a deep truth. When you control yourself, life starts to trust you. And when life trusts you, it opens doors quietly. That night, Ethan wrote one final sentence in his notebook. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect. He closed the notebook. Tomorrow was waiting. And for the first time, Ethan felt ready for whatever came next. The next morning, Ethan woke up quietly. He didn't rush. He didn't hesitate. He just stood up and followed his routine. Everything felt natural now. Not easy, but natural. He looked in the mirror. The reflection was familiar, but different. There was a calmness in his eyes, a quiet strength. For years, he had believed that life controlled him, that he needed luck, opportunity, or inspiration. But now he understood. Life does not give power to the unprepared. It responds to those who are consistent. Ethan's day started with small victories. Making his bed, drinking water, reading 10 pages, completing tasks. Every small act built something bigger, trust in himself. By noon, he noticed something remarkable. Problems still came. Distractions still existed. Mistakes still happened. But they no longer shook him. No panique. No fear. Just solutions. Ethan smiled quietly. He realized the truth that most people never learn. Discipline is not about forcing yourself every day. It is about training yourself to choose the right action, even when you don't feel like it. Evenings were now moments of reflection, not stress. He looked at his notebook, reading his progress. The same notebook that once felt heavy with failure now felt like a map. Every challenge he faced had taught him something. How to pause, how to decide, how to recover, how to stay in control. Ethan understood one final lesson. The power of self-discipline is the power to control your life. No excuses, no waiting for motivation, no depending on others. He could control his actions, his focus, his thoughts, and that control created freedom. For the first time, Ethan felt truly alive. Not because the world was easier, but because he had mastered himself. He closed his eyes and whispered quietly, "I am ready. Whatever comes next, I am ready." And with that, a new chapter began. A chapter of growth, resilience, and quiet strength. A chapter where Ethan would no longer wait for life. He would lead it. The journey of self-discipline was not over. It never ends. But Ethan had taken the most important step. He had taken control.